Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Friday, it's January 31st, and big rally day, that's all I can say. I had a target of 1786, that's what this line is right here, and you can see we actually beat that by a couple of points. But that was what I was shooting for. Um, once we started rallying higher here, that was my target, was at 1786. Um, And that was really just to come back and retest this area right in here. Um, it was kind of the split between the support and resistance the previous day, and the fact that it was a little bit more than a measured move, but obviously the measured move was my first target, and that put prices right in here. But once we kept going higher, then I was looking for us to kind of feel that uh, come back and retest these areas right in here. It was kind of where you can see it was kind of resistance across here and then turned into support later. And then you generally come back and retest those areas. So that's what I was looking for. But that's what I see uh, is mostly all uphill from, there was one short in here, maybe two that I'll talk about that I saw from a 7 o'clock on. And then it looked like it was going to do similar to yesterday's. They were going to have a little correction here. And actually, it wasn't yesterday. Maybe a couple of days before. Like maybe we'd have like a little weak correction here, although that's not really weak. I thought at first we may turn and go down and uh, have another big leg down. But they fooled everybody right in here, but you shouldn't have gotten fooled to the short side yet because at that point I didn't see the bigger channel. It wasn't really here yet. I was just looking at this smaller channel right here, and you can see that was the first break. And most of the time you're going to have that retest. Um, there was a possibility that there was a break here. There actually was a break, but generally if you get a break like that, you're going to still get a bigger break and then a retest. And so this looked like it might be a retest. Um, but when we bounce down here kind of at this same location right across these lows here, I'll tighten it up a little tighter later because we bounced right there. Uh, but originally I had it down here off these closes. So when we bounced right there, uh, it was obvious that we had some other stuff going on here. So I was looking at this bigger channel, and if you just moved that up, it looked like it was going to be right there at first maybe, but then we even went higher than that, and you can see it turns out it's on up there, and we got a little bit of a midline here or whatever. So um, this midline's actually a little lower there. I got that off some. And you can see that fits really well as a midline as well on top of everything else. So this is what I saw, bigger channel. It wasn't real clear that the channel was there until we started bouncing down here, right in here though. Otherwise, I thought this was just going to be a correction and that we'd probably have a retest and then maybe make a measured leg. But once we started going higher from there, again, I had a measured move for a target, and then if we went higher than that, possibly up to here. So. And you can see we actually overshot that quite a bit. So, but that was my final target was 1786. So let's talk about the trades that I saw. And I'm going to move this pretty quickly. It's Friday, and I'm later getting this done, but I'm going to get through this and wrap it up and call it a day and start my weekend. But first short I saw was right here. Second entry short. You got a new low. First entry pullback. Second entry. This was the first break of this channel working down. You can see there's a clear channel right there, very obvious. It's not hard to see. That's the first break, so we're probably going to make a new low. And then once we bounced a few times down there, I had this line across here, and I just kind of adjusted it down a little bit. And that just was not going to be my low. So this was, if it turned out to be a range day, or if it turned out that we went lower again, that was going to be my, there we had to get through to prove that we were going to go lower. So that's why I put that line there. But we started, we actually had a two-legged pullback here. We already had the break and a new low, but sometimes you'll get two measured legs. And so I like this trade. There's also some matching highs right across here. I don't have a line there anymore. I moved it. But but let me just put it on there and you can see it. So a lot of times these, you can just see these things better, and you see it's a failed break higher, it's a second entry short, it's a two-legged pullback to the EMA. There's plenty of room to get out before you get back down here. So I like this for a short. I liked using a limit order on this one um, if you could. And it was an easy scalp, and then you didn't get anything else, and we bounced right where you would expect, kind of down here off these lows. And then we made so we got a little double bottom here, but we've also got a little bit higher low, and then we turn down and we get a first entry, and then we go up and we get a failed second entry short there. So I like going long right above this bar. It broke lower first, goes out the top. Just go long right there. Easy scalp. You didn't really get any runners. They came back real quick, and it's just a two-legged pull back to this kind of trend line. And originally I had it a little bit lower, like so. But anyway, you get the two-legged pullback and you bounce right off of that. Just go long right there. It's a second entry long. Another nice, easy move. Then another two-legged pullback right to that same trend line. Again, just go long right there. You're not getting any runners out of these. This is just like a choppy, consistent move up. There was a breakout pullback long right here. I didn't like it as much. It just didn't, it's not a very good setup bar or whatever. If you took it, it is coming off the trend line, but we didn't go very far. It's like a failed break higher. You don't want to go short there, but I just wasn't crazy about going long there. It would have worked, and then you get another pullback. And again, you don't really get a good setup. You get so much overlap here that I thought it was better to wait on the second entry, but you never get that. Then you pull back and you test it again. And notice we didn't quite get up to the trend line this time. And then this one didn't go very high, and then that one fails and turns down. So you got a second entry there that kind of fails, and then we tried to go higher again. So now you got a second entry short off the high. And we did have this break here. So, it's just barely a close outside, but it is a close outside right here. And depending on how you looked at it, maybe it wasn't a close outside. So I wasn't sure if we wouldn't get a retest, but I still like this just for a short, simply for the fact that we were probably going to come back to maybe a different line down here, or I was just at least looking for two measured legs like that right there. And of course it drops on down and you got runners out. So this is really, at that point, this was one of the best entries we had. I went back and forth about whether to make this one green because it is a little bit aggressive. But notice that we got this high here, and we tested it once, we tested it twice, then we made a lower high. That generally is going to lead to another leg. Again, you don't know this is going to be that big a leg, but you can figure you'll get a measured leg similar to that one, and that's what I was looking for there. So I liked that short, and it turned out to be a really good short. Then it gets down here, and it bounces right off those closes right down through there. It bounced again, but I still didn't like going long yet because this is really, you got this little trend channel working down, and we didn't have a new low yet. So the odds were I thought we would probably break up and come down and then test it and then go higher. But when we had the failed second entry short here that reversed, then you got to go long, and you can see, and there actually was some news that came out right about this time. So the news may have been part of the reason it took off like that, but they got everybody trapped too. Not enough people probably were thinking retest. Most people were probably thinking second leg down, and that's what they do. They'll have these big down days all in a row, and they'll lull you to sleep, and you start to think that way, and then they reverse it on you. And man, this thing took off. This was the trade of the day right here. Either one of these two entries were the trade of the day, because you could have ridden these, depending on how you played it, you definitely could have ridden this up to the new high, which is what I did. I just exited. I kind of exited right in this area. I was just looking for a new high. and it went about another point higher than where I exited from. So, but you can't get a whole move. If you get most of this move, you've done really, really well. So, excuse me, don't expect to always get all the move because you'll end up having losing trades trying to do that. So you got to be real careful. But then you get another two-legged pullback to the EMA. On mine, it broke lower first and then turned up and went out the upper side. And that's a perfect, nice little trap. I love those kind of setups, especially when it's a second entry like that. And two measured legs back to the EMA, possible trend line. Um, Lots of reasons to go long right there. And but I like that one. And so just enter right there on the stop. Takes off. Again, the runners are safe. And the way I played this one, the way I would suggest playing this one is just draw your measured move there, put it up there, and look to exit somewhere right up here. So when you make this double top and turn down, you got to exit right there if you didn't already exit when you started to get the overlap right there. So either way, that's the way I would have played it. It's a smart way to play it. And then, of course, you get another two-legged pullback that comes back. And by this time, you should have had this line right here. And, you know, you just move it up. And you may not have known where the upper side was. I was thinking it was, I think I originally was playing it right along there. And so that's what I was looking at. So but there's really no reason to exit right there without that measured move. So, um, but anyway, you never know where to exit for sure. So try to shoot for the measured moves. And, you know, if you get close and you start to get the overlap or whatever, or you get a double top or some kind of reversal pattern, just exit. And then, you know, sure, it might end up being a trap that goes a little bit higher, but you can't be greedy. That's a nice move. And both of these, you should have had runners, and by that time, you would have had two nice setups in a row. And those are easy to spot trades, easy to see two-legged pullbacks. At least this one is. And this was an easy failed second entry coming up along a possible trend line, strong support area. So those weren't that hard to find. And then you just get the same thing right here. It's the same thing all over again. It's just a repeat pattern of that. Looks almost identical. It breaks lower. It doesn't break out the upside on this one. You had to just use a stop or whatever, or either wait for it to break and then use a limit order, and then it takes off. And but by the time it turns down here, then you should know now that you've got some kind of matching trend line along this upper side here. Then you get another little move back. There's a second entry long right here, but you weren't back to, you didn't have a break of this little trend line. That's fairly easy to spot trend line. You might have even had it a little bit steeper. I played with it both ways. It's the same thing either way. You didn't have the break right here. Then you got that little two-legged move up and then the move down. And I was ready to go long here, but it didn't give us that opportunity. Then it makes another little tick lower and turns up. Just go long right there. Maybe wait on that bar and go long right there. You still got room to get out, and you get another nice move. And the market was really strong by now. Of course, this was news. Some of this was news driven, so you had to be aware of that. And you can see we're probably heading to try to take that back. There's not much time left in the day. I doubt we're going to take that back before the day's over. But then you get another little move back down right here. You can see that move. We get the break, two legs down to a new low, and this is that pattern. And this was that pattern too. I didn't really talk about that a second ago. Let me just draw a line here. And I show you these all the time. You got the little matching lows across there, and prices break below and they reverse and turn up. You had it there. You had a taste of it right here as well. This one's not as pronounced. This one I thought we were going to get the break, but we couldn't. And then you get the same thing right here. Notice all those matching lows across there. And then you get that little break lower and it reverses. Just go long right there. It doesn't get much easier. This one didn't take off like some of the others, but it took it a minute and then it took off too. And of course, you've actually got a trend line on this one as well. You can see that trend line working up through there. You might have had it like that, but I think it's more like that right there. And you can see how you can verify by how well it fits on the other side. And you get a second entry long right here off of that failed break, and then you get that failed second entry short right here, so a chance to go long right there, and that was where the move really took off again. And of course you should be looking to exit right off that line. It's easy to see that line now. If you didn't have that line up here now, then you got some work to do because it's easy to find now. And turns down to the tick off that line. Normally what I do is I'll start putting as these new bars start to form, I would have had my limit order right in front of that one, then right in front of that one, and then right in front of that one, until I got stopped out when it touched that line. And that's how I usually play those exits. So this one broke down and went a little bit higher, but that's the first break of your channel. You expect a new high, and you get a short here, but you don't want to be shorting yet. You got to prove that this thing's over. And looks like we've got a spike and a little channel working here now, maybe. I haven't looked at this in a while, so just have to kind of draw it on here. You can see that channel working through there. Looks like we may have a break of it, or this just may be a little bit higher. Not sure, but we spiked down and kind of went into this channel. And that's pretty obvious to see right there. Looks like we've had a break now. So, and we probably need a retest after this break. This could have been good enough to be a break here, and we got a new high. But so we could continue to go lower. We just have to see what happens. I wouldn't be trading this late in the day with 15 minutes to close over the weekend. But that's what I saw today. And I mean, this was an obvious uptrend working up here. And when we bounced right here, you should have been experimenting with these with this trend line up through here. Let me back out just a little more than that. And I originally drew it more off those closes right there. So that would have given us a break. So I don't know if we actually had a break there or I just didn't have it quite drawn right. That could go either way. So you got to be careful with that. And you really didn't know where to draw your upper line. Like I said, originally I had it across those closes right there. But once we got above that, I moved it up to this high. And you can see that high came into play multiple times thereafter. So then you know you got it right, and it comes into play here, comes into play here. And so that's pretty obvious. But anyway, that's what I saw this today. It's been a really good trading week. Today was no exception. Another really good trading day. Hope you had a good trading day. Hope you had a good trading week. And I'm going to start my weekend. We'll be back to do this again next week. But I'm going to wrap it up. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next